Namaskar. Welcome to our channel Bio by Gulab Sir by Wisdom Coaching Center. As a part of series of lectures, today we are going to learn about immunity under the chapter Human Diseases and Health. Human Diseases and Health. So topic is immunity. Is a point very interesting. In fact, you to learn and ask your parent to let you see this video because it is a generalized topic. It is important to everyone to know about how immunity works in our body. If I say that we have 5 doctors in our body, it is not wrong. As there are 2 major types of immunity. What is immunity? Nothing to say you. It is a resistance power against the diseases. So there are 2 types of immunities which work. Innate immunity and acquired immunity. No doubt we are going to learn about active and passive immunity also, but these 2 types that which work in our body are innate immunity and acquired immunity. Acquired immunity. So, what is innate immunity? That we got by birth a immunity which we got, an immunity which we got it by birth as heredity from our parent. So there are 4 major types of innate immunities. 1, physical immunity. This is the first doctor of our body. As we got skin, that is dead layer of dead cells that protect entry of microbes, pathogens in our body. So physical immunity is through skin, is a first line of defense. It is a first line of defense. First line of defense. Along with nail and skin, nail and hair that protect our body against pathogen. Physical, because physically they cover our body. Therefore, this is a first doctor. Second doctor, physiological. Physiological. As we have acid in our stomach, mucus throughout our body, acid secreted in stomach, acid in stomach. Saliva containing lysozyme that kill microbes, which we receive through food. Even tear also has lysozyme. Sweat also has lysozyme. So this lysozyme kills the microbes. Stomach kills the microbe. So these are the secretion of our body. In addition to these, that we have cellular barrier. As a third doctor and third line of defense, this is a second line of defense. Cellular barrier is a third line of defense. This cellular barrier, we have cells that fight against the pathogen. We have phagocytic cells. For example, neutrophil, also known as polymorphic nuclear leukocyte. polymorphic nuclear leukocyte. Please remember this full form. Lymphocytes, monocyte, and macrophage in areolar tissue. They directly engulf, as I told you, phagocytic. That means that they directly kill the pathogen when they enter into our body. This is third line of defense. So it's very important to understand that first line of defense, second line of defense, third line of defense. So these three doctors, that they protect our body from pathogen. Now fourth line of defense is cytokine barrier. So here this cell produces cells infected by viruses produce interferon. So interferon are the special chemicals that produces by cell, and these cells which produce interferon, they make other cells aware about viral infection. This is very important statement, that these interferons, so cells produce interferon to make other cells aware about viral infection. So this is very important to understand. See, now this is the fourth doctor, therefore it is called as fourth line of defense. So we have learned here 5 line: first line of defense, second line of defense, third line of defense, and now this is fourth line of defense. So see, we have these 4 doctor: physical, physiological, cellular, and cytokine, which enable us to be healthy. As you know that in our lifespan, if we live for 80 years, how many month or year we are ill? We are only just for 1 or 2 months cumulatively. It is because of this doctor which present in our body. It can be learned in this way and can remember very easily, that when we say that these 4 doctor work in our body, so it becomes very easy to understand. So physical, physiological, cellular, and cytokine or cytokine barrier, that cell produces interferon against the viruses. Now this was non-specific immunity. This innate immunity is also known as non-specific immunity. Please remember this, since it is not specific. Any pathogen come, these 4 doctor work against them, or any virus come and produces, our cell produces interferon against any type of virus, therefore it is non-specific immunity. But acquired immunity, what we gain when we expose to specific disease, and then our body developed immunity against that specific disease, is an acquired immunity. To understand acquired immunity, so you would be knowing that sometimes we get disease like measles. So once we got that disease, second time we do not get disease, because in response to that disease or that antigen produced by that pathogen, our body produces antibodies, and that antibodies remain as a memory cell, so that second time when same pathogen invade, that antibody destroy it. Therefore first time then pathogen enter in our body, when first time we get infected, our body in response produces antibodies, and these antibodies remains alive forever, and vigorously in response second time, and vigorously respond second time respond against same pathogen, against same pathogen when enter second time. So first response is a primary response, and second response is a secondary response, and it is highly intensified. So secondary response is highly intensified, and hence second time we do not get same disease. This is very important to understand, and this second response is known as anamnestic response. This is very important. So see, acquire immunity that we acquire as and when our body get exposed to the disease. So first time we have symptoms, we have that disease, and by that time antibodies are produced in our body against that disease. Specific antibodies produced in our body against that disease. So our body become immune for that disease, so that cells, antibodies which produce against that antigen remain as a memory cell, and that memory cell again, when second time that same pathogen invade, they are already alert, therefore they attack over. So this is a fifth doctor, is a specific immunity, against specific disease. So can be called as a specialized doctor, as that specific antibody produced against specific antigen to destroy it and get cure. So we have 5 types of antibodies: antibody A, antibody Z, antibody M, antibody E, and antibody D. So antibody Z are the highest in number in our body, and antibody M are the largest one, as well as antibody Z that we have highest in number. Antibody A we receive from our mother by the time of when we are having breastfeeding. So through milk we received antibody A in largest number from mother. Now as a part of continue of this syllabus, we will continue to learn about this acquired immunity. Under this heading we will learn structure of antibody. So here I take the break and will be continue as a second part of this video, or continue this video. First you please take the screenshot of this one so that it will be available with you. So in continuation that I did ask you to take the screenshot, and you would have taken screenshot, and we were just continuing with acquired immunity, that I did explain you how primary and secondary response produced by our body. But who produces these primary and secondary responses, with the help of which? That is antibodies. So in the span of time when we get exposed to the diseases, our body produces specific antibodies, and I told you that antibodies are of 5 types: immunoglobulin A, immunoglobulin D, immunoglobulin E, immunoglobulin Z, and immunoglobulin M. These are the 5 antibodies produced in our body. Antibody M is the largest one, Antibody Z is the smallest one, and that is what also present in highest number. This antibody Z is smallest and present in highest number, highest in our body, and rest of other are suppose normal or general. Antibody A we receive through breastfeeding. From our mother in highest number, and that is what as a point of need to be remembered. So 1, 2 and 3. What is the general structure of antibody? That is what supposed to learn now. So see, we have this general structure of antibody or cartoon of antibody consists of two chains, two heavy chain, these are two heavy chain and two light chain, and two this light chain. These chains are joined by disulfide bond. See how many disulfide bonds are present over there. 1, 2, 3, 4, and this is what? 5. Here 1, 2. Here 1, 2, and here this is 5, 10. Now here this is what? 11 and 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So total 16 bonds are there, and this area, this is called variable structure, where these antigens are held and destroyed. So this is specific site, antigen binding site, These are light chain and heavy chain. So this is the general structure of antibody. Antigens are held here to destroy them. So antibodies are specific in their action to destroy specific antigen, and therefore this immunity become to be specific. It is achieved by two types of cells. That cells are beta cells, B cells and T cells. B cells and T cells. B cells are B lymphocytes. They are B lymphocyte. These B lymphocytes, they produce antibodies. These antibodies are nothing but that army of protein. They are also called as army of protein. They fight against specific antigen, destroy specific antigen, and therefore this is a specific immunity. And this immunity, specific antibodies destroy or protect our body from specific antigen, destroy specific antigens. This immunity is known as humoral immunity. This immunity is known as humoral immunity. Remember please. Then what is that immunity provided by T cell? Is a cell mediated immunity. This is that directly they just destroy, directly destroy foreign bodies, cells and pathogen. Here that this is called cell mediated immunity. Cell CMI, cell mediated immunity. Remember please full form of this one. These T cells, they are T lymphocytes. They are killer T cells. They are suppressor T cells and helper T cells. But out of that, these cells that they suppresses, that they do destroy, the cells which are grafted. Sometimes we need to have transplantation in our body, that liver transplantation, kidney transplantation or heart transplantation, where that foreign cells are recognized. In that case we are advised to take the kidney from siblings and not from any other animal or other human being. If it is taken from other human being other than siblings who do not have genetic match, then our immunity destroy that cells. So by that time, when we take that organ or organ transplantation from even sibling, then also we need to take immunosuppressant, because that cells can be rejected by our body, since our body can recognize self and non-cells. So self and non-self. So to protect that transplant, that kidney from sibling, we need to take the immunosuppressant. As you learn that cyclosporin A is a immunosuppressant is given to the patient one who get transplantation. So T cells generally they fight, they recognize self and non-self, self and non-self. So at the time of transplantation, that is grafting, even can be said as grafting, we need to take immunosuppressant to protect, to accept organ from other body. Otherwise these cells, protective cells, cell mediated immunity, CMI, in short I write cell mediated immunity reject grafting. So we need to take immunosuppression. So here what we learn, that this is acquired immunity in the span of time when our body get exposed to any antigen. So our body produce specific antibody, and this is the structure of antibody with this antigen binding site where that antigen is being destroyed by our antibody. So this type of immunity is known as humoral immunity, as I have already pointed out. This is humoral immunity. So that B cell which produce in bone marrow and matured in bone marrow, these T cells, they produce in bone marrow but get matured in thymus gland. Produce in bone marrow but matured in thymus gland, and therefore it is called T cells. Here they are produced in bone marrow, produced and matured in bone marrow, and therefore these cells are known as B cells. So here it is very clear where they are produced and why they are called B cells, where they are produced and why they are called T cells. So T cells, I told you there are three types: helper T cell, killer T cell, suppressor T cell. Helper T cell help B cell to produce the antibodies. Killer T cell directly kill the pathogen, and suppressor T cell suppresses autoimmunity. If I write these three different types of cell, if I get here, I have place here, I can mention that there are three types of cell: helper T cell, killer T cell, and suppressor T cell. Helper T cell help B cell to produce the antibody, killer T cell directly kill the pathogen, and suppressor T cell suppresses the autoimmunity. That our body sometimes go against us in some case or some diseases like rheumatoid arthritis, or when retroviral entry is there, by that time our body against us. So to suppress our immunity going against us, that is protected by suppressor T cells. Now in addition to that, these cells also protect our body from non-self, if either pathogen or any tissue from other body. So that is being rejected, as we have this cell mediated immunity. So we learn about acquired immunity because they reject when our body get exposed, therefore it is called acquired. As this B cells produces antibodies, and these antibodies destroyed the antigen, specific antigen. So this also acquired as and when that pathogen enter and produce that antigen, for that specific antigen, our body produces antibody. Therefore, it is said that it is being acquired against that pathogen, antigen, and hence this comes under the topic acquired immunity. So I hope you did understand this structure of antibody, which can be asked for 3 mark. Draw a label diagram of antibody in explain its structure. Also, question can be asked that what are humoral immunity and cell mediated immunity. Humoral immunity where that specific chemical called antibody produced to destroy the specific antigen, and cell mediated immunity where cells directly fight against non-self either tissue, organ or pathogen. So here we learn about both the immunities, that innate immunity and cell acquired immunity. Under immunity, innate immunity, we learn 4 major types of immunities. Physical immunity, as skin and mucus stand as a barrier for the pathogen. That mucus which secreted in gastrointestinal tract, reproductive tract, even in visceral organs that protect entry of pathogen against the pathogen. So that is physical immunity. Physiological immunity, as I told you, that acid secreted in stomach, saliva consists of lysozyme, tear consists of lysozyme, and sweat also consists of lysozyme that kills the microbes, that bacteria and fungal spores, so that we do not get infection. Third, that cellular barrier, as I told you, that we have some cells like neutrophil and monocyte, they directly engulf foreign material or foreign organism or pathogen when they come in contact. So they are phagocytic in nature. In addition to neutrophil and monocyte, we have macrophage in our areolar tissue just beneath the skin. They also directly destroy the pathogen if enter in our body. Fourth, cytokine barrier, where cells of our body produces interferon in response to the infection of viruses and make other cells aware about the entry of the viruses. So these 4 are innate immunities, that are the 4 doctor under first line of defense, second line of defense, third line of defense, and fourth line of defense that we learn. And lastly, we learn acquired immunity, where we learn that specific immunity, that we have 2 types of cell, B cells and T cells. These B cells produce and mature in bone marrow, producing antibodies to fight against specific antigen. So they produce that antibody is the army of protein against that antigen. So that fight against. So first time when our antibody responds, that is a weak response. Therefore we get disease and we get cure also. But second time if safe pathogen enter, by that time we have already that ready-made antibodies recognized that antigen. Therefore second response is serious, is heavy response. It also intensified response, also called as anamnestic response, as I have mentioned you earlier. So that is called vigorous response. So second time we do not get same disease. This immunity is called humoral immunity, as I have mentioned, humoral immunity. Now cell mediated immunity as part of acquired immunity, where this immunity provides protection against foreign tissue, organ system or pathogen. So here the cell mediated immunity protect us from organ or tissue or non-self organ or tissue, as we are being get grafting or transplantation. By that time we need to take immunosuppression to suppress this immunity, otherwise that organ will be rejected. So cell mediated immunity reject the transplantation or grafting. This is cell mediated immunity, as I have discussed. Also I said you T cells are produce in bone marrow but get mature in thymus gland. There are three types: helper T cell, killer T cell, suppressor T cell. These are the T lymphocytes. Suppressor T cell suppresses autoimmunity, killer T cell kill pathogen, and helper T cell help B cell to produce the antibodies. And here we complete this topic as a immunity under the heading human health and diseases. I hope you did understand, and if still you are in doubt, you can ask in comment section. I appeal you to subscribe our channel, and by pressing bell icon you will be notified time to time to receive new videos. Thank you.